Okay, and we are live for a packet party push episode. Wow, I'm already fumbling my words, and we've only just started. That's how long it's been, Fred. So
Felt like
last time we recorded this, we were together live
yeah,
in Melbourne,
in Melbourne.
Australia.
Yep, that felt like
And now,
ages ago, didn't it?
mate, it's been. I can't even remember. Was that at the start of November or December? It was December, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
that was
Yeah.
no, that was the start of November because I remember distinctly that Cisco Live, or at least when I started attending Cisco Live in I don't know 4 years ago or more.
Yep.
It used to be a December thing, but knowing how things are in Australia, December is when people start to really wind down and start cutting back on work, and then we're already in holiday mode, and nobody comes back until maybe after Australia Day, which is towards the end of January.
Legit, you learn all of these things, and then suddenly you got to switch off for Christmas, like the gap there, and like, what was all of that stuff that I learned at Cisco Live last year? And you go back and
Yeah.
you watch the recordings. It's like you never went in a sense, right?
Yeah,
Man.
so I guess that's
what a
probably the
whirlwind.
reason why they had to move it back to November so that people are still in the zone, or at least that's my opinion of it.
Yeah, at least give them something to think about before the shutdown, right? So that's always welcome. Speaking of the shutdown, mate, so we went from Cisco Live, our episode there, and we got some good reactions from that. But then, as always, things kind of fell off with a cliff
Yeah.
for us. What's been happening in the world of Fred since then?
Oh man, I gotta say I loved doing that recording, not just because we were physically beside each other, because the vibe is totally different when you're like physically within each other's arm's length, but I enjoyed sharing my experience in that episode, at least from my perspective of what live was to me, and same for you. And I guess a lot of people found that really valuable because some of the people who listen to us may not have been to a Cisco Live event before, and even then, it's not. I mean, ours is not a universal representation because Cisco Live APJC is quite unique.
Yeah.
But as you know, all good things must come to an eventual end, and we've had to come back to reality. The good news is the holiday break was just around the corner from then. And the flip side of that is you kind of have to rush into, like, we know this because we're working in the sales organization of our companies, our respective companies, but we kind of have to make sure that all the deals are closed, or any pending deals don't necessarily spill over into January, because that's pretty much a bust. So you can imagine how hectic it was for me. And overall, I enjoyed the break. As I always say, these things aren't nearly enough. But mate, you tell me, how do you go with your little break and end of year exercises and festivities?
So just a reminder to the listeners, I live in Japan where Christmas is not celebrated in exactly the same way at all. So for me, I'm jealous when I hear Fred say he went into holidays. I still kept working, but, took paid time off on Christmas anyway, because for me, that would just be like kind of weird. Like if I ended up having to work on the 25th, I'd be like, something's not quite right here. But then much the same, right? It's, for our company, we roll into the end of what we call quarter two, and sales is sales, right? It's still after 10 years of this shit, excuse the language for our listeners, but it still feels weird to refer to communications with other people as opportunities, right? And everything ends up being tied to a sales number. Small part of me just goes like, when I have to refer to like good people that I talk with in that sort of manner, right? But that's probably going to be yet another episode for us to discuss, which leads us into exactly what we're doing with this episode, right? Where Fred and I have since had a chat, and given that, some of our more sort of human element of IT and technology conversations have really gone down well with all of you, our listeners, we kind of wanted to not double down necessarily on it, but kind of expand a little bit more what we're doing in that space. Fred, did you want to add a bit of color to that?
No, true. I mean, I know we get whenever we get a chance to catch up, we do. That most people probably don't know that, but this sort of dynamic and chemistry between Vlad and I, if you can call it that, doesn't happen by accident. It involves a lot of activity behind the scenes. Vlad can ping me at any time and talk about any number of things, like whatever he's working on right now. So we just kind of keep that communication open. And then at one point, we suddenly, what do we call that, lamenting on the current state of, employment in general. I mean, it's not entirely a bad thing. Like, we're just kind of reflecting on what the situation is. Like, I think it's coming off of some mates of mine who might have recently gone through a layoff, limited restructure, not just here in Australia, but also in other places. So we kind of gravitated towards an idea that, what are we doing here? Like, I know the intention of us starting the podcast was really to share knowledge. That's kind of a thing that Vlad and I are very passionate about. But are we forgetting the human element of it? Like, there's a lot to be learned and discussed, not only on the technical aspects of our jobs, but also on the human element of it. Like, Vlad and I, mate, you'll agree if I say that we're both nerds to some respect.
To the core.
And it's not always easy for us to navigate situations that involve human emotions, human factors that aren't always easily represented in ones and zeros.
No, that's right. And I mean, you often see that played out in the dynamics between, a salesperson and their sales engineer, right? Where the sales engineer becomes the default gateway and gets the whip cracked on them, right? And because the sales engineer's sort of like innate purpose and desire and feeling is to serve the customers and the people around them, to provide this certain level of excellence, whether it's the adoption of a specific technology or having like the best design and the best possible outcomes for another person.
Yep.
You kind of inherently...
Sorry, Vlad. To our less technical listeners, the default gateway can also be referred to as a safety net or a catch-all. So, that's kind of our job as engineers. We tend to be the end-all be-all. Minus the, I know it sounds arrogant, but in our existence, we tend to be treated like the end-all be-all of a problem and a solution. Yeah.
And I mean, we've seen plenty of representation on social media how very often people will refer to say, hey, just skip the sales guy, go talk directly to the engineer, because you'll get a no BS, response and advice from them, right? So, and that's us to a T and a core, but that then lends into like in the workplace, right? You're navigating certain political bureaucracy, or you're being the catch-all for other people, and you kind of feel like you have to be for some reason. There's that weird sort of innate feeling inside of you that if you don't, you get in trouble, you'll get pushed around, you get told that you're not doing enough, right? And like, there's tons of stories like this that we haven't even really covered. I like the way that you phrased it earlier, right? We focus on the human element, and that is the stories of people themselves. So yeah, look out for more in this space in that regards. We've got, what do we have? We cover a couple of different series. So, talking about, the super duper guy hoarding information and that impact on themselves and the team. Do you promote the best performer to be a manager, or do you keep your best performer performing, right? Perhaps navigating multicultural dynamics, maybe taking a look at management series. How have people actually transitioned into management from technical roles, and how has their life changed from that? To me, it's still like, if you asked me next day to become Fred's manager, I'd be like, what? No. I could, no. The social dynamic change that would occur between us, I could not handle that.
Like, tell me if you agree about this. If you tell me if you agree with this, Vlad. This we have traditionally, I mean, at least from an Asian cultural standpoint, we've always been raised to always look forward to that, top of the aim for the top of the ladder, and you have to kind of climb your way up. And in many instances, I know this mindset has evolved in the more recent time, but traditionally, at least in my parents' time, it's always been try to work your way up the ladder, and the logical progression from being an individual contributor to a lead, to a leader, to a manager, to a director, or however high you can go. It would be interesting to hear like people who've actually progressed their career in such a manner, as opposed to people who have become a very valuable resource, yet stayed an individual contributor. Like I can think of a couple of people off the top of my head who are very valuable to the business, but they're not exactly managers.
Yep. Yeah. I have more than a couple of examples from my life as well where I've seen or heard of people being promoted, and they were the best at what they do. But were they the best at being able to take what they know and do, and to be able to coach someone to be able to be that same best in their own unique way? That's like it's an entirely different set of skills to go from being the best at something to then coaching someone to be the best at something, right? That's still not something that I've wrapped my head around entirely, but that's definitely one for us to unpack with a series of our future guests that we have on a list.
Yeah.
But they don't know they're going to be our guests yet, but they will soon. So they will get the call.
So if you haven't noticed where we're going at with this, you have to we're going to say it out. So we're thinking of doing a casual talk series from Packet Party. And the concept behind this, or at least Vlad and I have agreed that the concept behind this would be a nerd's perspective and a nerd's take on humanity. So like Vlad has mentioned, we're going to tackle topics like that has probably indirectly related to technology, but focusing more on the personal or the human aspect of it. Like, I guess it's safe to say that we're not the only nerds who had difficulty navigating the corporate world or the workplace in general. So I think what we want to do here is we want to share our experiences, share our opinions, hear from people who have lived that journey and how they came out. And most of the people we know so far are still surviving and fairly thriving. So, we thought it would make for an interesting set of episodes.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, on that note, right, if there is a specific topic that you want to hear about, or if you want to be part of the show, you want to tell us about how inter-team politics works in your business and how you guys have crossed boundaries between that, where the network team the server team blames the network team, the applications team blames the server team, and everyone blames the database guys, and there's all of that stuff that goes on, right? Like, it exists in every single business, right? If you want to come on the show and talk to us about that too, like, we would love to more than talk with you. We also have a range of guests and people that we have access to that we can ask them anything and everything. And so if you've got a question that's a burning desire to learn more about, whether it's being in sales or management, drop us a note or a comment in LinkedIn or in the Spotify comments as well, and we will definitely find that for you and definitely add that as part of our run sheet here.
Yeah, no, I hope that's something that works out, well for us. Don't worry, our valued listeners and our lovely listeners, we will still cover the technical topics. Definitely still very much a main part of the show. It's just that I guess Vlad and I, we've kind of realized, we never realized how much work goes into preparing those topics. And not only that, trying to find the right expert on the topic that we wanted it to cover. So it's not always going to work out. But, a casual series like this might be an easier path for us so that we can, come up with recordings on a fairly regular schedule.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, with our technical content, right? I mean, we do work for a vendor, but we didn't want it to be one specific vendor focused, right? And that's wherein lies, we have copious amounts of material that talks about how, our employer does things in a certain way with certain technology, right? But when you try to extrapolate that and try to make it a little bit more, I wouldn't say generic, but a little bit more open in scope. Like it's, it's not cloud management with Meraki. It's like cloud management of networking gear entirely and extrapolating what that actually means for the end user.
Vendor agnostic, yeah.
Being vendor agnostic, right? The conversation gets much larger and wider. And so if you don't have a run sheet to help you control all of this, like our 45-minute sessions would blow out to probably hours and hours of content. So, yeah, it's definitely a lot involved in this.
So, Vlad, how do you want to go about this? Like, what can we tell our listeners what to expect in the coming weeks?
Yeah, so expect more content from us, expect more interactivity from us. So again, if you leave us a comment, whether it's on YouTube, Spotify, or on our LinkedIn page, you'll see more from us there. We are looking at the avenues as well of ways to, put content out there that you would find interesting, whether that's news wraps or others. But look, there are other podcasts out there and groups that do handle that sort of stuff already, who may be better served to actually give you that sort of content and insight right away. So look to us now to bring those stories, whether it's your story, or the story of someone that we know, to a podcast, catch a feed near you.
Yeah. Now, you know what? I just realized, I hope that this direction that we're taking with a casual talk kind of caters to a wider audience, not only IT focused people. In fact, a lot of what we're going to cover in the Casual Talk series has something to do with human behavior. So what would be really cool if somebody knows of somebody who has a background in behavioral psychology or something similar in that field. That would be so awesome, wouldn't it?
I would definitely love that. I mean, to understand the depth of a human in why they do certain things, like, we can guess, why is that guy like hoarding that information? Why doesn't he share anything?
Right.
Why does he keep all the passwords to everything in the kingdom and not share that with us, right? What is the behavioral science behind that mentality? I would love to know and understand more about that. So yes, please, if you know someone, give us their details. We want to know more.
All right. Well, we were just looking to make this short and sweet. Was there any other information you wanted to share, Vlad? I think we finally got these ideas out of our head and off our chest, and I'm feeling really good about this direction we're taking. But any parting thoughts for our listeners?
Look, whenever people make New Year's resolutions, right? The one way to make sure that you get action is to tell someone else that you're actually going to do that, because they're going to hold it accountable to you. And in a sense, this is what this episode is, right? So you can hold us accountable to this and be like, Vlad, Fred, come on, buddy. But yeah, look, on that note, we do have, we were talking about how we're busy, right? We've got 2 minutes till our next meeting and internal session that Fred and I both have to attend. Fred, do you have any parting words, thoughts for our listeners?
I just really want to hear back from whoever's listening. And I know we've already had a handful of followers over the few months that we've been active. Ping us directly. You guys know us. We know you, most of you at least. And if not, leave a comment on the podcast page and tell us what you think. We really want to, make this interesting for you. So far, Vlad and I have been just sharing everything that comes our way, sharing our experiences. At the very core of doing this podcast really is just sharing information, sharing knowledge. We just don't want, the knowledge that we've learned, the learnings that we've had over the years to just go disappear into oblivion. Who knows? Maybe a few years from now, our kids will be listening in to try and pick up some nuggets of wisdom or otherwise. Who knows, right?
I mean, either that or some AI is going to use our podcast to learn how to deliver therapy to another person. Let's hope not, but
as long as they don't, as long as they don't clean out my bank account, I'm happy with that.
On that note, Fred, it's been a pleasure. Thank you to all of our listeners for listening in. Keep an eye or an ear out very soon for some more episodes in your feed. And thank you, as always, for sticking with us.
Yeah,
Cheers.
Thanks for the support. See you later.